Welcome to another edition of our series, Rethink, Reconfigure, Reinvent. The overall Indian economy is expected to contract by 7 to 7.5% in the financial year 2021. While most of the sectors have seen a degrowth, agriculture has emerged as one of the rare bright spots with an estimated 3% growth in FY21. To understand what worked for the agricultural sector during the pandemic and what kind of rethinking, reconfiguring, or reinventing is required to bring this sector completely back on track, I have with me my colleague Ashok Varma, who leads our agricultural sector. So Ashok, how has the pandemic really transformed the sector of agriculture in India? What has really happened in the sector?
When the pandemic hit, Rabi crop was standing in the field and we managed to save it through adequate measures which were put in, and agriculture was also put under the category of an essential service, which helped the farming sector. When the reverse migration happened and people were going back to their homes in rural areas, and that uncertainty maybe propelled most of the farmers who were not earlier sowing to sow during the Kharif season. And it was a record 108 million hectares sowing in the Kharif season. And that meant that the food production which was happening for the financial year 2021 is also very high. The grain production, which is nearly around 50% of the total production, total output when it comes to agriculture GDP, that and also 30% output, which is generally coming from the horticulture. This provided the resilience to the agriculture sector. There were also a dip in demand. And this dip in demand was largely for the non-staple food. The cereals, the fruits and vegetables, those were in demand. But there were very clearly dip in consumption for poultry, meat, and many other items. The second part is the disruption in the supply chain. The disruption in the supply chain was both in the agriculture input side, which is like seeds, fertilizers, pesticides. On the other side, on the produce itself. The produce was difficult to be transported and stored. So that meant that there was very clearly a disruption in the supply chain. The third one was acute labor shortage. And that acute labor shortage also was geographically different if you look at in different parts of the country. The fourth challenge was that despite all this record food grain production and also maybe the demand not dipping so much, the income levels which farmers had, that definitely went down.
So what do you think are some of the emerging trends in the Indian agribusiness landscape?
The first trend, very clearly farming activities are going to be aggregated and it is going to be seen as a business activity. Second trend, very clearly we are looking at more and more direct to customer models. That would mean that shortening of the supply chain. We are looking at integrating the value chains and we will see more and more use of technology in this value chain. Customers are going to be worried about where this food is getting produced, how it is getting produced, what kind of packaging is being done, what kind of processing is being done. So customers would be wary about that. And that would mean that traceability is going to be one of the major focus area in future. The other one is all the healthy consumption. When we say healthy consumption, that would mean that there are a lot of foods are getting replaced by healthy options. So we would see this trend continuing in near future.
Now, one of the things which always bothers me is how do you see the overall government policy environment supporting these trends? Do you see the government is adequately supportive, both at the central and the state levels?
The doubling farmer income is still one of the focus area for the government. And government is clearly looking at policy measures to address this issue. So they are looking at how agriculture allied sectors like fisheries and livestock could contribute to increase in farmer income. Trend setting is looking at how 10,000 farmer producer organizations could be set up by 2024. This is largely to address the issue of scale, both in the agri input and the output level. Third initiative which I would like to share with you is the Electronic National Agriculture Marketplace. And this is a platform which Government of India is creating to remove the information asymmetry which exists today. And it helps the small and marginal farmers to understand what kind of price levels which are prevailing at the national level and see that they get the right price for their produce. Arnab, as an advisory leader and earlier as technology consulting leader, from your experience, what are some key trends which you foresee in the adoption of technology in agriculture sector?
Globally, I would say agriculture is witnessing technology advancements mainly aided by increased connectivity at the farm level through precision farming techniques, usage of AI and cloud computing for crop or soil monitoring, and all of it to drive efficiency and creating value. Now, if you look at AI and the digital applications in agri value chain, they potentially can be around interventions into predictive analytics, around data and platforms for price transparency, imaging and AI to help in monitoring crop quality, also product traceability, all of these, right? We've been hearing about bots and drones in the agri sector. So the agri bots or the drones are being used for cultivation, harvesting, crop, soil, health monitoring, all of these things. Now, the main factors fueling this entire AI and digital transformation is the availability of affordable hardware, I would say farm equipments, which are connected devices and integrated softwares to address all the stakeholder needs. I do see definite challenges in replicating some of these Western trends into the Indian context, considering that we have a very low land holding, so which translates into low investment appetite at a farmer level, and also I would say the quality of education and skills to operate some of these new technologies. So, Ashok, what is your take on the adoption of these technologies in the Indian context? What would make these work in the Indian context?
So there is a very vibrant startup ecosystem which is working with the farm sector today to address some of these issues. So they're coming up with product innovations which is going to work both in a low and marginal landholding and also with large farmers. The second part is on how some of these technology adoption could be accelerated and made affordable to the farmers. So that is being done through farming as a service model. So the farmers only pay for the use of technology and they do not pay for the entire hardware, farm equipment, and also the technology cost. So one of the examples are very clearly the custom hiring centers, which are being built by many state governments, which help farmers access agriculture farm equipment without actually owning it. The third trend which we see in this entire adoption of agriculture technology is largely the setting up of rural entrepreneurship and incubation centers by the state governments across the country. So these entrepreneurship and incubation centers are helping decentralize this entire ecosystem of innovation.
So, Ashok, those were wonderful insights, and thanks for spending time with us today. I do see an interesting and challenging period in the Indian agri sector in the near future. I would say this sector is one of the most diverse set of stakeholders, right? From governments, farmers, traders, corporates, and each one of them trying to emerge stronger from the crisis. And we are very happy to partner with them in this journey as they, I would say, rethink, reconfigure, and reinvent their portion of the value chain. So with that, thank you, viewers. I hope you too enjoyed this episode. We will be back soon with yet another interesting conversation on some other business issues. Until then, stay safe and take care.